Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. So we've been on an exciting path, but I have been saying from the beginning, so we want to reach the third part of the video series to be adding the business logic. So you will tell us in a second then what we've been seeing in past videos, but I'm very curious about how this is then happening in Telecoms Low Code. How do we bring the close round circle to the product to add this logic?
Well, as I said in the ending of the last video, we had the raw material, which was the data structures. We have guaranteed that they have a function, and now we're going to add the real brain to it through a visual and more intuitive than the others business flow builder. So if you join me, we can go to the Telecoms Low Code again, and instead of playing with data, we go directly to business logic. There is where our flow builder lives.
Okay.
We can start by calling a telco flow, which would basically allow us to kickstart this flow. You can see here lots of icons. Each one of them triggers a different coding function, but in this case, you don't need code to execute them. And this flow, for example, will be kept running all of the time. It would wait for a SIP signaling and then trigger the proper flow to create the SMS notification logic. So this is how we connect to the telco network and fetch information from there. And then if you go to server flows here, we can see how the SMS logic is triggered.
The way I see it is then we're not only adding business logic to the service, but actually adding a graphical user interface, a flow of how to trigger and invoke the actual service in the telco part.
Yes.
And now you're going to show us then how you added then the business logic then to the actual service or the product, right?
And since we are relying on a composable architecture, one main flow can call multiple subflows to execute some steps.
Great.
So here, in the flow that creates the SMS logic, we have first the run icon that triggers a subflow to increment the missed calls, that function that we saw in the last video. So in that subflow, we're going to access the database, add a missed call, and then if we have success in that operation, we access the database again, and we count the amount of missed calls from a single caller, and then we just return this information to the main flow by updating the values.
On the database directly?
On the database, yes.
Okay.
If you go back to the main flow, you see that after counting the amount of missed calls, we have another flow here, another subflow, that will create the missed call SMS. And you can see by the icons here present on the subflow that we have, for example, a JavaScript icon that would allow the developer to customize how the SMS is built.
Oh, okay.
We have a PBC here that allows us to send SMS from the telco network that is already built on the platform, and the developer just needs to import the library. And if we have success or errors, we can create conditional stages for us to either update the database and execute a purge and finish the flow, or send to the system an error message and allow the developers to debug it.
So for me, it gets more and more interesting because I'm trying to see, I have the idea of like creating this service, right? And you're mentioning then flows, icons that have different specific actions in the same way as if I was writing the code. But you're also mentioning PBCs, and our audience might be following us and they have been then hearing about PBC or package business capabilities. Then Telecoms Low Code, you have like a set of different PBCs. And in this particular flow we're seeing now, you've reused one of these PBCs that encompasses already a function. It could be a small product on its own. And then in this case, it was a telecoms PBC.
Yes.
So for the sending of SMS. So it's already coming pre-built. It's not that you have to create it again from scratch.
Yes, since we're using the same protocols that the telcos use to communicate with the network services, we can just leverage it package it, and create functions that developers can use out of the blue to create their own products.
Okay. Great. No, this is all good stuff. Thanks for showing us this, but I'm also having another question. So from the creating a product perspective, we've seen then the whole process, right? And we've seen that telecom operator, a CSP, can invoke this service via SIP protocol, like routing the calls to this service once it's deployed, and waking up the service to increment, send the SMS of the missed call. But what is there another methodology to also invoke this service?
Oh, of course, if you don't want to use a SIP trunking to receive that information, you could also, within the Telecoms Low Code, configure, for example, an API which will give a REST update that would be consumed by the platform and could trigger the flow the same way we showed here.
Okay, so a lot of flexibility, different ways of like either routing the whole traffic of calls to that service or just via REST interface then start the missed call notification.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for showing all of this, Felipe. It's very, very exciting. Of course, for our audience, this is a use case we've taught the two of us as a simple product that could be put together with Telecoms Low Code. It's not the only product that we can put together. In the next round of videos, we will be then together with Felipe showing then what is the impact of having a more complex service and how to create the front-end or graphical user interface. And for that, we will be focusing more on the citizen developer tool of the Telecoms Low Code.
Yes, I'll be sure to make you a video call to present this.
Great, that sounds very good. So thanks for being here. Thanks for everyone that have joined for the 3 videos. And see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.